Hello everybody, this is Refresh and I'm here to bring you a battle between all of the 2019 Challenger decks using the Explorers of Ixalan format. We have the Explorers of Ixalan Island right there, and then over here we have Lightning Aggro, over there we have Arcane Tempo, over there we have Deadly Discovery, and over there we have United Assault. We'll start by rolling. Lightning Aggro gets 4, Arcane Tempo gets 8, Deadly Discovery gets 6, and United Assault gets 8, so it's a roll-off between United Assault and Arcane Tempo. United Assault gets 12, Arcane Tempo gets 9, so United Assault will go first. We'll start with 7 cards apiece. United Assault draws a Hunted Witness, Sky Marcher Aspirant, a Johnny's Pridemate, Dauntless Bodyguard, Leonin Vanguard, Healer's Hawk, and Dauntless Bodyguard. There are no lands here, so we cannot keep this hand. Our second hand has a Plains, Leonin Vanguard, Legion's Landing, Plains, History of Benalia, and Plains. This is also a really terrible hand for this aggressive deck, but I think we can keep this because we have a play for turn 1, turn 2, and turn 3. Lightning Aggro draws 7. They get a Mountain, Goblin, Chainwhirler, Lava Coil, Wizards, Lightning, Mountain, Lightning Strike, and Goblin Chainwhirler. There isn't much in the way of early game, and so I think we're actually going to ship this back and use our free mulligan. Our second hand has a Mountain, Chainwhirler, Mountain, Banefire, Lava Coil, and Shock. I think because we have the Shock to remove threats, and we have a 2, and we can get that, we have that third Mountain for the Chainwhirler, we're going to keep this hand, even though it's not a great one. Arcane Tempo draws 7. We get a Niv Mizzet Perun, Blink of an Eye, Shock, Izzet Guildgate, Charter Course, Goblin, Electromancer, and Island. This is not a great hand, but because we have the extra card draw for Charter Course and we have all of our colors here, we will keep this. Deadly Discovery draws 7. We get the Eldest Reborn, Merfolk Branchwalker, the Eldest Reborn, Bulgari Finebroker, Wildgrowth Walker, Vraska Relic Sleeker, and 1 Forest. I don't think 1 Forest is a keepable hand, so we'll use our free mulligan. Our second hand has a Forest, a Swamp, a Golgari, Guildgate, Ravenous Chupacabra, Golgari, Guildgate, Wildgrowth Walker, and Merfolk Branchwalker. It's not a great hand, but because of all the lands, but I think it's good enough to keep, so we will do so. Because this is multiplayer, we'll all draw a card on the first turn. So United Assault draws and gets an Adanto Vanguard. We'll play a Plains, and then tap the Plains to play Legion's Landing. It is a legendary enchantment. When Legion's Landing enters the battlefield, create a 1/1 white vampire token creature with lifelink, and when you attack with 3 or more creatures, transform Legion's Landing. Here's our token, and then we will pass the turn. Lightning Aggro draws. They get a Mountain. We'll play the Mountain, and I think we will just tap the Mountain and take a look at this tile over here. It says, from the Mist, put a permanent card with converted mana cost 3 or less from your hand onto the battlefield. I think that is an easy choice for Goblin Chainwhirler. Goblin Chainwhirler is a 3/3 Goblin Warrior with First Strike. When Goblin Chainwhirler enters the battlefield, it deals 1 damage to each opponent and each creature and planeswalker they control. So it'll enter the battlefield, deal 1 damage to each creature and each opponent. Arcane Tempo takes 1 and goes to 19. Deadly Discovery takes 1 and goes to 19. United Assault takes 1 and goes to 19, and also loses their Vampire. And then Lightning Aggro will pass the turn. Arcane Tempo draws. They get a Charter Course. We'll play the Izzet Guildgate tapped, and then Arcane Tempo will pass the turn. Deadly Discovery draws. They get a Forest. We'll play the Golgari Guildgate tapped, and then Deadly Discovery will pass the turn. United Assault untaps. They'll draw. They get a Sky Marcher Aspirant. They'll play a Plains, and then they'll play Adanto Vanguard. It is a 1/1 Vampire Soldier. As long as Adanto Vanguard is attacking, it gets +2/+0, and pay 4 life. Adanto Vanguard gains indestructible until end of turn. And then we will pass the turn. Lightning Aggro untaps, draws, gets a Wizard's Lightning. We'll play a Mountain, and then we'll spend 1 mana to take another look at another tile. We have too much to carry. Create 2 treasure tokens, and an opponent of your choice creates 1 treasure token. We'll get 2 treasures, and then we'll give Deadly Discovery a token. Deadly Discovery generates a token. We'll spend another mana to pull this tile. And then it says, it's a site at the beginning of your end step, you may discard a card, and if you do, draw a card. We'll put that over here. And then we will attack Deadly Discovery with our Goblin Chain Whirler. Deadly Discovery takes 3 and goes 16. At the end of the turn, High and Dry Pirate's Market will go off. We'll discard the mountain and draw a card, which is an Experimental Frenzy. And then Lightning Aggro will pass the turn. Arcane Tempo untaps, draws, gets a Goblin Electromancer. We'll play the island. We will tap both of these, one for red and one for blue, and play the first Goblin Electromancer. It is a 2/2 Goblin Wizard. Instants and sorcery spells you cast cost 1 less to cast. And then Arcane Tempo will pass the turn. Also, Lightning Aggro should have put a blocker on this tile there. Deadly Discovery untaps, draws, gets a Seeker Squire. We'll play a Forest. We'll tap both of these for green, and we'll play the Wild Growth Walker. It is a 1/3 elemental. Whenever a creature you control explores, put a +1/+1 counter on Wild Growth Walker and gain 3 life. And then Deadly Discovery will pass the turn. United Assault untaps, draws, gets a Sky Marcher Aspirant. United Assault will play a Plains, and then we'll tap all 3 mana to play 2 Sky Marcher Aspirants as well as a Leonin Vanguard. Sky Marcher Aspirant is a 2/1 Vampire Soldier, and it says it has Ascend, as well as Sky Marcher Aspirant has Flying as long as you have the city's Blessing. Leonin Vanguard is a 1/1 Cat Soldier at the beginning of combat on your turn. If you control 3 or more creatures, Leonin Vanguard gets +1/+1 until end of turn, and you gain 1 life. We do control 3 or more creatures. We're going to go to combat. We'll gain 1 life, and Leonin Vanguard will become a 2/2 for the rest of the turn. We'll go back to 20, and then we will attack Arcane Tempo with Adanto Vanguard. Arcane Tempo will decline to block and go to 16. Then United Assault will pass the turn. Lightning Aggro untaps, draws, gets a Rekindling Phoenix. We'll play the Mountain. Lightning Aggro will spend 3 mana to scout this tile here. It is Trespass at Spitfire Bastion. Deal 3 damage to target creature or player. We'll deal 3 damage to the Wild Growth Walker. The Wild Growth Walker dies. And then Lightning Aggro will pass the turn. At the end of the turn, we will discard Wizard's Lightning to draw a card. We drew a Goblin Chain Whirler, and then we'll pass the turn. Arcane Tempo untaps, draws, gets an island. We will play the island. We will attack Deadly Discovery with the Goblin Electromancer. Deadly Discovery takes the hit and goes to 14. Arcane Tempo will tap 1 blue using the discount from the Goblin Electromancer to cast Charter Course. We'll draw 2 cards. It says then discard a card unless you attack with a creature this turn, but we did. We draw a Crackling Drake and another Charter Course. We'll spend 2 more mana to play another Goblin Electromancer, decreasing the instant and sorcery cost by 2, and then we'll pass the turn. Deadly Discovery untaps, draws, gets a Golgari Finebroker. They will play a Golgari Guildgate tapped, and then they will tap 2 mana and play the Seeker Squire. It is a 1/2 Human Scout. When Seeker Squire enters the battlefield, it explores. We'll explore. We'll take a look at the top card. It is a Merfolk Branchwalker, and I think we'll leave it right there. We will put a +1/+1 counter on our Seeker Squire, and then we will pass the turn. United Assault untaps, draws, they get a Plains. We'll play the Plains. We'll tap these 3 and play History of Benalia. It is an enchantment saga, and for turn 1 we'll create a 2/2 white knight creature token with vigilance. Here is our knight, and now we have 12 permanents, so we will have the city's blessing, which means that the Sky Marcher aspirants are flying, and then we will attack United Assault with both of the Sky Marcher aspirants and the Adanto Vanguard, but we'll get +1/+1 to Leonin Vanguard and get a life to go up to 21 as well. And because we attacked with 3 or more creatures, we're going to transform the Legion's Landing, which becomes Adanto the First Fort. It is a legendary land with tap, add white to your mana pool, and then 2 and a white, create a 1/1 white vampire creature token with lifelink. Lightning Aggro will decline to block and will take all 7 damage to go down to 13. And then United Assault will tap 1 to take a look at this tile here. It is Walls of Adanto. Creatures can't attack you. Opponent may pay 1 to ignore this effect until end of turn. We'll also steal the High and Dry Pirates Market as well. And then we'll pay another 1 to look at this tile over here. And it is Plunder the Plunderers. The next time combat damage is dealt to you, create 2 treasure tokens. And then we're going to trigger the Pirates Market, and we will discard the plains, and we will draw a plains. And that is the end of United Assault's turn. Lightning Aggro untaps, draws, gets a shock. Lightning Aggro will spend 3 mana and cast another Goblin Chainwhirler. Same as before, everything will take 1, and each player will also take 1. Arcane Tempo takes 1 and goes to 15. Deadly Discovery takes 1 and goes to 13. United Assault loses the Leonin Vanguard and both Sky Marcher Aspirants. They will spend 4 life to give Adanto Vanguard Indestructible to go down to 17. And they will at least keep the 1 card. Then Lightning Aggro will sacrifice a treasure for 1 mana so that they can pay to attack United Assault, and they'll attack United Assault with the 1 Chainwhirler. United Assault declines the block. They'll take 3 and go to 14. Then they will lose both of the sites, Walls of Adanto and High and Dry Pirates Market. But they will also accomplish Plunder the Plunderers and gain 2 treasure tokens. Lightning Aggro gets High and Dry Pirates Market and Walls of Adanto. They will, at the end of the turn, discard Experimental Frenzy and draw a Get to Log Runner, and then they will pass the turn. Arcane Tempo untaps. They draw. They get a Radical Idea. Arcane Tempo will tap the Izzet Guildgate for shock, targeting the Knight token. The Knight token goes away. Then Arcane Tempo will attack United Assault with 1 Goblin Electromancer. United Assault takes 2 damage to go to 12. Arcane Tempo will follow up by playing an island and casting Charter Course. We'll draw 2. We draw a Radical Idea and a Crafting Drake. We will spend another island to cast another Charter Course to draw 2. We will draw an Arclight Phoenix and a Lava Coil. We did not draw the land that we were hoping for, so now we're going to discard 1 card to go down to 7 cards. We'll discard the Arclight Phoenix, and then Arcane Tempo will pass the turn. Deadly Discovery untaps, draws, gets a Merfolk Branchwalker. We will play the Swamp, and then we'll tap all 4 mana, and we will play the Golgari Finebroker. It is a 3/4 Elf Shaman. When Golgari Finebroker enters the battlefield, return target permanent card from your graveyard to your hand. We'll take the Wild Growth Walker back to our hand, and then we will pass the turn. United Assault untaps. United Assault draws, gets a Plains. United Assault will then trigger the second History of Benalia, making another Knight token. United Assault will attack Lightning Aggro with the Adanto Vanguard. Lightning Aggro will decline the block and will take 3 to go to 10. We'll lose the Pirates Market and Walls of Adanto. United Assault gains both and is reminded that we need to tap 1 mana to be able to attack Lightning Aggro. We'll play 1 Plains, and then we will spend 1 mana to take a look at this tile over here. It is Valuable Recon. Create a treasure token. Look at any face down tile. We'll create a treasure token. We will take a look at this face down tile. It is Deadly Challenge. Choose 2 target creatures controlled by different players. Those creatures fight each other. I think we have enough mana to spend 3, so we'll spend 3 more. And then take a look at this tile over here. It is Prove Worthy. It's a quest. The next time you deal combat damage to an opponent with the most life, create a dinosaur token. And then we'll end the turn by discarding the plains and drawing a card. We get a Healer's Hawk, and then United Assault will pass the turn. Lightning Aggro untaps, draws, they get a Lava Coil. We'll spend 1 mana and cast a Shock targeting the Knight. It deals 2 damage to the Knight. The Knight dies. Then we'll spend 1 mana to cast the Get to Lava Runner. It is a 1/2 Human Wizard as long as there are 2 or more instant or sorcery cards in your graveyard, which is true. Get 2 Lava Runner gets +1/+0 and it has haste. Then we will attack United Assault with everyone for 8 damage. United Assault will sacrifice all 3 treasures for white mana. We'll tap the Adanto, the first fort, to create a 1/1 vampire creature token with lifelink, and then we will chump the Gitu Lava Runner, gaining 1 life but losing another 6 to take 5 total and go to 7. Then they will lose the Pirate's Market and the Walls of Adanto. Lightning Aggro gets the Pirate's Market and Walls of Adanto. They needed to pay 1 more mana to actually attack, so we'll do so now. And then Lightning Aggro will pass the turn. Arcane Tempo will untap. We'll draw. We get an Opt. We will play the Opt for 1 blue mana. It is an instant. Scry 1, then draw a card. We'll scry. It is a land. We'll keep it. We'll draw it. We'll play the Mountain. And we'll cast Radical Idea for 1. We'll draw a card. We get an island. We'll cast Radical Idea for 1. We'll draw a card. We'll get a Charter Course. Because we cast 3 spells on our turn, Arc-like Phoenix will trigger. It is a 3/2 Phoenix with flying and haste at the beginning of combat on your turn. If you cast 3 or more instant or sorcery spells this turn, return Arc-like Phoenix from your graveyard to the battlefield. And then we will attack United Assault with the entire team for 7. United Assault cannot block. They'll take 7 and they'll perish. And then Arcane Tempo will spend 1 mountain and cast Lava Quill, targeting 1 of the Goblin Chain Whirlers for 4 damage. And if it would die this turn, it exiles. So it will die this turn and exile. The Chain Whirler has been exiled. And then Arcane Tempo will pass the turn. Deadly Discovery untaps. Draws. Gets a Woodland Cemetery. We will play the Woodland Cemetery. It says Woodland Cemetery enters the battlefield tapped unless you control a swamp or forest. We control both. We now have 5 mana. We will spend 2 mana and cast the Wild Growth Walker, which enters the battlefield, and then we'll spend 2 more mana right away and cast a Merfolk Branchwalker, which enters the battlefield. It says when Merfolk Branchwalker enters the battlefield, it explores. It's a 2/1 Merfolk Scout. We'll explore. We get another Wild Growth Walker. We'll leave that right on top, and we will put a counter on the Merfolk Branchwalker. Because we explored, we'll put a counter on the Wild Growth Walker, and then we'll gain 3 life to go back up to 16. And then we will attack Arcane Tempo with the Golgari Finebroker and the Seeker Square for 5. And then we'll spend 1 more mana to take a look at this tile over here. It is Study the 9 Rivers, and next time you draw a card, instead look at the top 4 cards of your library, then put 1 into your hand and the rest at the bottom of your library. And then we'll attack Arcane Tempo with the Golgari Finebroker and Lightning Aggro with Seeker Square, sacrificing the treasure card to be able to attack past the Adanto walls. Lightning Aggro can't block, we'll take 2 and go to 8. We'll lose the Pirate's Market and the walls. Deadly Discovery gets the walls and the Pirate's Market. And then we'll go to the end of the turn. We will discard the Forest to draw a card. That'll trigger the Study the 9 Rivers, so we'll look at the top 4 cards, which are Wild Growth Walker, Orazca, Merfolk Branchwalker, and Llanowar Elves. We'll actually take the Wild Growth Walker and put the rest at the bottom, with Orazca going on top, followed by the Branchwalker and then the Llanowar Elves. And then Deadly Discovery will pass the turn. And Deadly Discovery will put a Scouting token on this 3. Lightning Aggro will untap. We'll draw. We get a Mountain. We'll play the Mountain. And then we will tap 4 mana and play the Rekindling Phoenix. It is a 4/3 Phoenix with flying, and when Rekindling Phoenix dies, create a 0/1 red elemental creature token with, at the beginning of your upkeep, sacrifice this creature and return target card named Rekindling Phoenix from your graveyard to the battlefield. It gains haste. And then Lightning Aggro will pass the turn. Arcane Tempo untaps, draws, gets a Sulphur Falls. We'll play the Sulphur Falls. It says it comes into the battlefield tapped unless you control an island or a mountain. We do. We'll attack Deadly Discovery with the Arc-like Phoenix for 3, paying 1 red mana to pay for the Walls of Adanto. Deadly Discovery can't block, they'll take 3 and go to 13. Then Arcane Tempo will spend 4 mana, 2 red and 2 blue, and play the Crackling Drake. It is a star 4 flying drake. It says Crackling Drake's power is equal to the total number of instant and sorcery cards you own in exile and in your graveyard. And when it enters the battlefield, draw a card. We'll draw a card. We get an opt. And we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 instants and sorceries in the graveyard. And so we'll just mark it as an 8-4 like this. And then we'll pass the turn to Deadly Discovery. Before the turn ends, we have to recognize that Arcane Tempo dealt combat damage, so it'll take the Walls of Adanto and High and Dry Pirate's Market. Arcane Tempo gets these, and they will discard the Charter Course to draw an opt, making the Crackling Drake a 9-4. Deadly Discovery untaps. Draws, they get a swamp, they'll play the swamp. They'll tap the Forest in the swamp to cast a Wild Growth Walker, and then they'll tap all the rest of the mana to cast Ravenous Chupacabra. It is a 2/2 Beast Horror. When it enters the battlefield, destroy a target creature an opponent controls. Will target the Crackling Drake. Crackling Drake dies. We can't attack Arcane Tempo because we don't have any mana left, and it's not profitable to attack, so we will pass the turn. Lightning Aggro untaps. Lightning Aggro draws, gets a Fanatical Firebrand. Lightning Aggro will pay 2 mana and cast Lava Coil, targeting the Arclight Phoenix. Arcane Tempo loses the Arclight Phoenix and it is exiled. Then they'll spend 1 mana to attack Arcane Tempo and will attack the Rekindling Phoenix for 4. Arcane Tempo will take 4 and go to 11. And because they took combat damage, they'll lose the Pirate's Market and the Walls of Adanto. Also, Deadly Discovery's Scout token should have fallen off. Lightning Aggro gets the Pirate's Market and the Walls of Adanto. Then Lightning Aggro will sacrifice the treasure and tap the mountain to also cast Lava Coil, targeting the Wild Growth Walker that has 4 toughness. Deadly Discovery loses the Wild Growth Walker, and it is exiled. At the end of the turn, we will discard the Fanatical Firebrand to draw a card. It is a Get-To Lava Runner, and then we will pass the turn. Arcane Tempo untaps, draws, they get a Lava Coil. Arcane Tempo will play the island, and then we'll tap everything. These for red to play Niv Mizzet Parun. He is a 4/4 Dragon Wizard. The spell can't be countered. It has flying, and whenever you draw a card, Niv Mizzet Parun deals 1 damage to any target. Whenever a player casts an instant or sorcery spell, you may draw a card. And then Arcane Tempo will pass the turn. Deadly Discovery untaps, draws, they get a Golgari Guildgate. They will play the Guildgate tapped, and then they will spend 2 mana to play the Merfolk Branchwalker. It explores. We draw a forest into our hand, and then we will trigger the Wild Growth Walker, getting a counter, getting us 3 life to go to 16. We can't profitably attack anywhere, so we'll just spend 3 more mana to take a look at this tile over here. It is a deadly challenge. Choose 2 target creatures controlled by different players. Those creatures fight each other. We will have the Get-To Lava Runner fight the Goblin Electromancer. The Get-To Lava Runner dies. The Electromancer dies. I think we need Lightning Aggro to stave off Niv Mizzet, and so we will decline to attack Lightning Aggro and pass the turn. Lightning Aggro untaps, draws, gets a mountain. Lightning Aggro will play the mountain. Lightning Aggro will spend 4 mana and cast Banefire, targeting Niv Mizzet Parun for 3 damage. This will trigger Niv Mizzet because a instant sorcery is cast. We'll draw a card, and it is Beacon Bolt. And Niv Mizzet Parun will deal 1 damage as he draws a card to Lightning Aggro. Lightning Aggro will take 1 to go 7. Lightning Aggro will then cast another spell, Shock, targeting Niv Mizzet Parun to finish him off. This will again trigger Niv Mizzet. We'll draw another card, it's a Lava Coil, and then we'll deal 1 damage to Lightning Aggro again, and then Niv Mizzet will die. Lightning aggro takes another one to go to 6. Lightning aggro is not in the best place right now, so they will choose to end the turn, discarding the Get to Lava Runner and then drawing a shock to replace it, and Lightning aggro will pass the turn. Arcane Tempo untaps, draws, they get another Niv Mizzet, and then they will just cast Niv Mizzet. And then Arcane Tempo will pass the turn. Deadly Discovery will untap. They'll draw. They get a Memorial to Folly. They'll play Memorial to Folly tapped. Then they will attack Arcane Tempo with everything. Arcane Tempo sees a problem here. We'll block the Wild Growth Walker with Niv Mizzet per rune, and we'll trade the Electromancer for the Merfolk Branchwalker. We'll take 9 damage to go to 2. The Electromancer will die. Deadly Discovery will lose the Wild Growth Walker and the Merfolk Branchwalker. And then they will spend 1 mana to take a look at this tile over here. It is Can't Support. The next time you deal combat damage to the player on your left, draw a card. They'll regret not doing that first. They'll spend another mana to take a look at this tile here. It is Jungle's Bounty. Create a sapling token, gain 2 life. We'll get a sapling token, and we'll gain 2 life to go up to 18. Then we'll spend 3 mana to take a look at this tile, which will be Turn Tail. Return up to 2 target creatures controlled by different players to their owner's hands. We will return Niv Mizzet, and we will return the Phoenix. Niv Mizzet goes back to our hand. The Phoenix returns to our hand. We will place our scouting token on this 3 here, and then we will pass the turn. Lightning aggro untaps. Lightning aggro draws. They get a Fanatical Firebrand. Lightning aggro thinks it needs Niv Mizzet alive in order to act as a threat and life buffer for itself, so it will spend 4 mana and cast the Rekindling Phoenix, and then it will pass the turn, discarding the Fanatical Firebrand to draw a mountain. Arcane Tempo is glad to be alive. They will untap. They'll draw. They get a Goblin Electromancer, and now they have to find some way out of this trouble. They wish they had more mana, they wish they could play Niv Mizzet, but they actually need to kill as many creatures as they can in order to survive. So they'll play a Goblin Electromancer. They'll spend 1 red mana to Lava Quill the Rekindling Phoenix. The Rekindling Phoenix dies and is exiled. They'll spend another red mana to Lava Quill the Golgari Finebroker. Finebroker is exiled. They'll spend 1 mana to opt. They'll scry. They'll put the opt at the bottom. They'll draw their next card, which is a Radical Idea, which is not that good of an idea here. And they will pass the turn. Deadly Discovery untaps. They'll draw. They get a Golgari Finebroker. They will spend 4 mana to cast the Golgari Finebroker, getting their Wild Growth Walker back. They'll play the Forest. They'll spend 2 mana to cast the Wild Growth Walker. And then they'll spend 3 mana to take a look at this tile here. It is Jade Reflection. When you cast your next instant or sorcery spell, copy that spell. You may choose new targets for that copy. We'll put our scouting tile on there, and then we will attack Arcane Tempo with all 3 of these creatures. Arcane Tempo will spend an island. We'll blink of an eye the Seeker Squire, and we'll trade with the Ravenous Chupacabra. We'll take 2 from the Merfolk Branchwalker to perish. We'll pop the Seeker Squire back into our hand. Chupacabra will die. We will accomplish the quest Cannons to Port. Drawing a card, getting us a Jade Light Ranger, and then we will pass the turn to Lightning aggro. Lightning aggro untaps, draws, gets a Goblin Chain Whirler. Lightning aggro will spend 3 mana to cast the Goblin Chain Whirler. It'll do its thing. Deadly Discovery takes 1 and goes to 17. They will lose their Merfolk Branchwalker and their Sapling token. Then Lightning aggro will tap 1, cast a shock targeting the Wild Growth Walker for 2. This finishes off the Wild Growth Walker. And then we'll spend 1 mana to scout this tile here. It is Sails Unfurled. The next creature that enters the battlefield under your control enters with an additional +1/+1 counter on it. It gains haste until end of turn. At the end of the turn, we'll discard the mountain to draw a new card. It is Fanatical Firebrand. And then Lightning Aggro will pass the turn. Deadly Discovery untaps, draws, gets a cast down. We'll spend 2 black and cast down, targeting 1 Goblin Chainwhirler. It says destroy target non-legendary creature. That triggers Jade Reflection, so we'll create a copy and target the other Goblin Chainwhirler. Both Goblin Chainwhirlers die. We'll spend 6 mana to take a look at this tile over here. It is the Bloodfast Ends. For each opponent, destroy up to 1 target permanent that player controls. We only have Lightning Aggro left, so we will destroy one of their mountains. The mountain goes down. We will put our scouting token on this 6 here. And then we'll tap the Golgari Guildgate to pay for the Walls of Adanto and attack Lightning Aggro with the Golgari Finebroker. Lightning Aggro takes 3, going to 3, and they will lose the Walls of Adanto and Pirate's Market. Deadly Discovery gains these 2. We'll decline to discard and draw, and we will pass the turn. Lightning Aggro untaps. They draw. They get a mountain. They'll play the mountain. I think it's time for Hail Mary, so we will tap 1 mana to take a look at this tile here. It is a quest, Plunder the Plunderers. The next time combat damage is dealt to you, create 2 treasure tokens. That's not going to do us any good. Then we'll spend 3 more mana to take a look at this tile here. It is Deep Retreat. At the beginning of your end step, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature you control. We'll go ahead and spend 1 mana to play the Fanatical Firebrand. Because of Sails Unfurled, it'll get a +1/+1 counter in haste, so it'll be a 2/2. At the end of the turn, it'll become a 3/3, and then we will pass the turn to Deadly Discovery. Deadly Discovery untaps. They'll draw. They get a forest. Then Deadly Discovery will attack with the Golgari Finebroker into Lightning Aggro. Lightning Aggro has to chump. It will sacrifice the Fanatical Firebrand to deal 1 damage to Deadly Discovery. Deadly Discovery takes 1 and goes to 16. Then Deadly Discovery will spend 3 mana to sacrifice Memorial to Folly, and will return a Wildgrowth Walker to our hand. We'll play the Forest, and we'll spend 2 more mana to play the Wildgrowth Walker, and then we'll spend 3 more mana to play the Jadelight Ranger. It is a 2/1 Merfolk Scout. When it enters the battlefield, it explores, then it explores again. We'll explore the first time, we'll get a Jadelight Ranger and leave it on top, and it'll explore again, and we'll leave it on top again. That means the Jadelight Ranger will get 2 counters, as well as the Wildgrowth Walker, and then we'll gain a total of 6 life to go up to 22, and then we will choose to discard the Seeker Squire to draw the Jadelight Ranger, and then Deadly Discovery will pass the turn, losing the scouting token. Lightning Aggro untaps. Lightning Aggro draws. Gets a Lightning Strike. In desperation, Lightning Aggro will spend 1 mana and take a look at this tile here. They'll get Study the 9 Rivers. The next time you draw a card, instead look at the top 4 cards of your library, then put 1 into your hand and the rest on the bottom of your library. That's not very helpful. We'll spend 3 to look at this tile here. Unwitting Accomplice, gain control of target creature until end of turn. Untap that creature, it gains haste until end of turn. We'll gain control of the Wildgrowth Walker, I guess. And then we'll spend 1 mana to attack Deadly Discovery. Deadly Discovery is fine with taking this. We'll take 3 to go to 19, and we'll lose the Pirate's Market and the Walls of Adanto. We'll gain the Pirate's Market and the Walls of Adanto. And then we will give up the Wildgrowth Walker first before triggering these. We'll trigger and we'll discard the Lightning Bolt to draw a mountain, and then we'll lose the Wildgrowth Walker, and then we'll get a counter in that order. Deadly Discovery gets the Wildgrowth Walker back. Now it's their turn. They'll untap. They'll draw. They get the Eldest Reborn. I think this is pretty simple, so we will just go ahead and attack with everybody to finish off Lightning Aggro after paying 1. Pay the cost of Walls of Adanto. Lightning Aggro's got nothing, and they will perish. And that's the game. Let me know what your thoughts were about this game in the comments below. If you enjoyed it, hit the like button. If you'd like to see more of these videos, you can hit subscribe. This was Refresh. Thanks for watching, and I will see you next time.